Yeah. So before we start going into like the details of all the different dietary theories, I just wanted to remind you guys how important it is to just understand that each one of us are different. There's nothing wrong with any of these dietary theories because it might work for somebody and it might not work for somebody else. You just have to know how your body reacts to food. And, like we've said from the beginning, one person's perfect food or perfect diet is another person's poison. Let's see, where do we want to start other than the intermittent fasting and the fasting? Have you guys tried anything that works really well for you guys? Let's talk about vegan versus plant-based. Do you guys know the difference between vegan versus plant-based? There's plant-based, plant-only, and vegan. What a vegan does is they don't eat any animal products. Actually, if you're a real true vegan, you don't wear any animal products. You don't use any Louis Vuitton bags. You don't use anything made out of real leather. You don't eat honey because it's made from bees. You will never wear fur. Like, you're really like, if you're vegan for animal rights, that's how a real vegan is. But if you eat vegan, what you really are doing is not eating animal protein, like at all, like no dairy, no meat, no, not even eggs. So eggs would fall. You can be a vegetarian and you can eat eggs, but as a vegan, you don't eat eggs. Okay, so vegans also can eat boxed food. So if you're vegan, you can eat Oreos all day long. If you're vegan, you can eat white pasta and McDonald's French fries all day long. Actually, I take that back because sometimes you don't know if you're vegan, if you're a real true vegan, you don't know if your French fries have been cooked in the same oil as like the chicken nuggets. So you would technically avoid eating French fries at a restaurant. So that's a real vegan, but vegans eat French fries. So that's what the vegan is. A vegan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy, okay? Unless you're doing it like you're a vegan where you're eating a little bit more of plant style foods. Plant-based is about 95% of the food that you eat is from a plant. So that's basically all of your vegetables, your fruits, nuts, seeds, whole grains, all of that. If you're plant-based, you don't eat foods out of a box. So if you get the, was it nature's something boxed food and it says plant-based snacks on it, that's not plant-based, that's actually vegan, that's false. But what you can do, you have to understand, if you're plant-based, like I said, it's 95% of your food. So if you eat the week 95% whole plant foods and you eat a couple of those crackers, you're plant-based. If you're plant only, you would never eat the crackers and you would never eat the pasta, you would never eat meat. You could be plant-based and you can still eat 5% of your meat. So if you have like, say like one piece of chicken throughout the week, then you're plant-based. If you don't eat the chicken or the eggs or anything like that at all, you're plant only. So there's a couple different styles of plant-based, and then there's the vegan versus plant-based, which is super confusing. Plant-based, you can go to a restaurant and you can order like a salad, and you might order, say, like a ranch dressing on your salad, and the ranch dressing might have dairy in it. So again, you're plant-based and you can get away with eating, the ranch dressing because it has dairy. But if you're plant only, you would not eat the ranch dressing. Well, you guys know about Weight Watchers. You guys know probably about paleo. You guys know about paleo? Has anybody done a paleo? Paleo is pretty popular. So what paleo is basically, in a sense, they call it the caveman diet, if I remember right. Like you're eating like meat and you don't eat grains, because back in the caveman days, you don't actually take grains and like process them down into flour. And so that's not part of the paleo. It's just basic, like fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and meat, red meat, and what else? Basically, it just kind of stays away from grains. Okay, so foods to avoid on the paleo diet is wheat, rye, barley, oats, brown rice, dairy, except for ghee and grass-fed butter, which is kind of funny because, ghee is the whole process of like milking a cow and then letting it sit and then letting the fat rise to the top and scraping off the fat, and then you have the ghee. Processed foods, obviously, think back in the caveman days, they didn't have processed foods, right? Sugars and fruit juices makes total sense. So that's the paleo diet. intermittent fasting? Is there anything that anybody's heard about that they were thinking about trying? Actually, your first meal has to be like, I believe, pretty small, because you're fasting for so long, you're giving your digestive system a break, and you don't want to like overload it. That's kind of going to backfire on you. Let's talk about keto. Anyone who has done keto or has had success with the keto diet. Keto diet has been around actually for a super long time. What it was designed for back in believe 1920s, that's how long it's been around for. But it was designed for people that have epilepsy. And so it helps them control their epileptic seizures if they're not responding to medication. So that was the whole purpose of the keto diet. Now, what you do is you restrict a lot of foods and you're allowing your insulin levels to drop. And so it causes the pancreas to start to produce, I think it's like glycogen or glucagon, one of those ones, which then what happens is it starts to produce ketones. And so that's where the word keto came in. So your body goes into a fat burning mode, but it's burning through ketones. You've got to do is you've got to get into ketosis. So you have to be very specific about what you're doing, or your body won't go into ketosis. And you've got to restrict foods like carbohydrates, and you've got to add in a lot of fatty foods. You see keto, a lot of people eat steak with a lot of fat, bacon with a lot of fat, sausage with a lot of fat. But then you're kind of cutting carbs backwards, low carb vegetables, even low carb fruits, increasing your meat, increasing your fat, increasing your fish, dairy, you got increasing your dairy, a lot of oils. And so you're cooking and eating with a lot of say olive oil. And then like I said, you're taking out all the highly sugared foods, beans, no starch, that kind of thing. What backfires with keto is once you get into ketosis, which it takes a lot of hard work to get there. If you were to go out to dinner and have French fries and a baked potato, you just ruined your keto diet. So everything is undone. And then you've got to try to get your body back into ketosis. So a lot of people might lose weight and might feel success with it, but really it's probably because you're being a little bit more cautious about the food that they're eating. Because again, you're increasing your fruits, you're increasing your vegetables, you're increasing your meat, you're taking out processed food, you're taking out chips, you know what I mean? So you're probably eating better than you were before. Cons of ketosis is when you're in ketosis for a certain amount of time, it can actually cause bad breath. So you can get that keto breath. It's like a metallic-y taste from what if I remember right. Nutrient deficiencies, again, because you're cutting out certain fruits and certain vegetables, and carbohydrates are restricted in some source. And so you're not, your blood sugar levels are kind of a little wacky. And most importantly is that unless you have a specific reason to stay in ketosis for the rest of your life, it's not really going to be maintainable for the rest of your life. So a lot of people have been in ketosis, done the keto diet, fail after a couple of months, gain back the weight, and then some. I've also heard people that have type 2 diabetes and even type 1 diabetes that do a keto style diet without being in ketosis and have also had success. So something to think about there as well. Again, I really think it has a lot to do with just changing the way that you eat. I mean, that's what's important. All of these dietary theories are, kind of being studied a little bit further to find out, like the keto, they found out, really it's, good for people that have epilepsy, type 1, type 2 diabetes, that's what it's good for. And they're trying to narrow it down, why is Atkins so popular? Because you're carb restricting. Well, carb restricting takes away your French fries and the white bread and so forth. So it's good for a short amount of time because you're cutting back on eating all of those bad foods. But technically, in a sense, when it comes time to want to eat a sweet potato or a baked potato or something like that, you're going to want to be able to eat it without having it backfire. So all of these dietary theories are great to get started if you need a starting point.